The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. There has been so much reaction to this film online. And I'm sure you've already seen at least one person voicing their opinion about this movie in one way or another. And initially, I didn't want to contribute to this online reaction. But now that the reacting has kind of reached and past its peak, I guess, things are a little bit quieter now. Maybe it's a good time for me to pitch in. Because as much as I want to voice my opinion about the film per se, like Christopher Nolan's choices and decisions, I also actually have a reaction about the reaction. Okay? So a reaction to the way that people are reacting to the film. So let me say first that I will not watch this film while it's in theaters. I don't believe that it's worth spending my money on this film. And I don't particularly want to support it. If one day I'm bored at home and, scrolling through Netflix or Amazon Prime and happen to see it, I may give it a try, just to see what it's like. But I'm not going to take this film seriously. Just because it was directed by Christopher Nolan, the great Christopher Nolan. Just because that name is on that film. I'm not really a fan of Christopher Nolan. I like some of his films. But, in general, I think he's just an average filmmaker. I don't think he makes masterpieces. And I think he's kind of overhyped. And it's unfortunate because when I first heard about The Odyssey, my default reaction was, yeah, okay, I want to see it. I want to see this movie. And the reason was because I love ancient history. I love mythology, like Greek mythology. I like Roman history. I actually studied this stuff for 6 years in university. So it's an intellectual passion of mine. It has been for a long time. So when I heard about this movie, it doesn't matter who directed it, Nolan or Mel Gibson, I don't care. I heard about this movie and I was like, yes, I want to watch this. And I think it's going to be great. But the more things were revealed about this film, the less I wanted to give it a chance. Now, you don't know me very well, so you might assume a whole bunch of things, depending on where you're coming from, right? And that's fine. There are many details in the movie that I can go over and show my disapproval for. But this video isn't really about that. I'm not going to do historical analyses or, all the inaccuracies. Instead of that, I want to take a broader look, a zoomed out look at this film. And the way that everyone, left-wing people and right-wing people have been reacting to this. Okay, so, I don't want to do it in one video because it's going to take a while. So this is going to be part 1, and then afterwards I'll make part 2. In this video, I'm going to explain how the left reacts to this film. And in the next video, I'll talk about how the right reacts to it. So let's talk about the left first. in a lot of ways, the reaction from the left toward this film is pretty unsurprising. And I say that honestly, it's really unsurprising. The left, predictably, celebrates it for all the non-white actors. Okay, it's so predictable. Lupita Nyong'o, and all the seeming elements of DEI, okay, diversity, equity, inclusivity, that the movie is imbued with. So the way the left celebrates this film is pretty much how it's always been celebrating films like these. Nothing surprising, nothing's unexpected. The right, I'll talk about them in the next part, but they're also unsurprising. Okay? And they what do? They rage against this DEI stuff in the film. They hate it. That's what they're reacting against. They talk about how historically or mythologically inaccurate this film is. The right complains about how politically biased and skewed this is. And also how Nolan surrendered to wokeness. So that's the initial reaction from the two sides. First shots fired from the left and the right. And from then onwards, the two sides, they just go back and forth, shitting on each other nonstop. Now, personally, I don't want to take any sides on this issue, but at first, I was definitely a little bit more aligned with the right-wingers, because I believed that depicting this story should be done accurately and with care. So in that sense, my view is a little bit more right-wing. Or at least it was. But I thought about this a lot, and I think there exists a crucial extinction in the way I view it vis-a-vis the right. Okay, because my reasons for authenticity in the film are a bit different from what the right-wingers seem to be implying when they make complaints about authenticity. But let me first begin with the left, okay? And the problem I have with the left, okay? Because the left, their main, apart from the whole DEI, celebration of DEI and everything, my biggest issue with the left is what they say to the right in response to the right's complaint about authenticity. Okay, that's the biggest problem I have with the left. Okay, and please don't take this in the wrong way. This is not a pro-right-wing video. I just happen to have been a little bit more aligned. I just happen to be a little bit more aligned with the right wing, but that's it. I'm not pro-right wing. Okay, and so one of the things that the left replies to the right about in this film regarding authenticity is like having black actors represent famous characters in the Odyssey like Helen. So the left says, or they respond to the right saying, oh, well, what are you complaining about? The Odyssey is just a myth. It's like fantasy. So an artist can take any approach he or she wants to depict this story on screen. So having Lupita, whatever her name is, Lupita Nyong'o as Helen, it's completely fine, because it's mythology. Stop complaining. It's just myth or legend. If a black guy represents Thor, it's completely valid, because that's also a myth. It's like a fairy tale. It's not real. So what's the point of necessarily representing Thor with a white actor? In fact, since we, the left, want better minority representation in society, as our, as our DEI ideology requires, we should show these characters as non-white to give more chances and representation to minorities. So the first error in this asinine way of thinking, absolutely asinine, is Greek mythology is not fantasy, okay? You stupid idiots. Greek mythology is not fantasy. It's a collection of stories that spans centuries and centuries, and are a cultural product of a very specific people and nation, the Greeks. Okay, these stories are not just like a product of Greek culture, but they continue to shape Greek culture and Greek identity to this day. They're part of the Greek ethnos. They provide the Greek people a sense of self-understanding and belief and pride in who they are. The myths, they're inextricably connected to the people, okay, on a collective and individual level. That's not the same thing as fantasy. It's not the same thing as Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. And for those who claim that it is the same thing, they just don't know shit about Greece or Greek culture. When the Greeks read about Achilles or Helen, or let's say the gods, Zeus or Poseidon, they could be, and I think they often consider these figures and stories as a reflection of themselves, culturally, one way or another. Okay, that is not fantasy anymore. It's like this is now a national story. Okay, a national story. I know it's very hard for the left to imagine such a thing, but that's what it is. A national story. A story of the people. So how do you think they feel when they see Helen as some Congolese woman? Does Lupita Nyong'o seem like a person who could, live up to this Greek figure? And bitch, please, are you telling me that you're going to make the same argument of artistic freedom if they made a film about some African myth and used white actors to depict, some major figures in an African myth? I remember how the left reacted to The Gods of Egypt in 2016 when that movie came out. Jeez, you people looked like you were going to get a brain aneurysm. And you were making, it's hilarious, you were making the same, when I say you, I'm talking to the left. You guys were making the same arguments against Gods of Egypt as the right is now making about the Odyssey. You were saying, oh, it's inauthentic. This is terrible. It's not representative of ancient Egyptians, whom, by the way, you mistakenly believe were sub-Saharan Africans. This kind of hypocrisy from the left, it's probably what's like the biggest thing that's killing it right now. You guys are losing the public with this kind of bullshit. You claim to care about national and ethnic cultures for a whole slew of people, but apparently Greeks are not worthy of that consideration. And why? Oh, because they're white. Of course, that's the reason. Because they're white. The way the left approaches white people is probably going to be their downfall. They don't understand that white is not monolithic. And when the left does encounter a white culture, they just assume that it has a colonialist past. They're so simplistic. And if a certain white culture does have a colonialist past, like let's say the British, well then the left believes that they have the right to take revenge on that culture. Okay? Vengeance, this is not said outwardly, but vengeance is a big part of the left's mentality. Vengeance. And so Greeks are lumped into their category of white, and therefore colonialists, which means that these colonialists have all the power, and therefore it is right to have their culture erased and modified in accordance to the left's preferences. Just like the colonialists, in the past have modified and erased the cultures of the colonies. Same thing. So it's like what goes around comes around, right? It's a vengeance. By the way, maybe you feel like I am speaking very passionately about Greeks. I am not Greek. Okay? I'm just very passionate about this topic. I like Greek culture. I like Greek people. And I love Greek history, but I know I'm not Greek myself, so don't think that this is some kind of a really personal thing. It's only personal insofar as it's like because of the intellectual passion that I have for this topic. Like I said earlier, that's why I sound maybe a little emotional. Ghetto, living in the ghetto. No, that's not where I live, but those people do, I think. Living in the ghetto. Let me turn around here. Oh, damn, this is the ghetto. So that's the left. Okay? It's crap. Just complete crap. Get it away from me. I don't want to do anything with it. Okay? And that's as far as I'll go for this video. And for next video, in part 2, I want to talk about the right. Because I have stuff to say about the right. The right isn't exactly a pack of angels. Okay? They're not exactly some innocent creatures as pure and white as snow. Okay, there's some things I have to say about the right. In fact, I might have a little bit more to say about them. Okay, and that will be in the next video. Okay, so stay tuned for that. I usually come to this twisty road to have a little bit of fun, but today it's too trafficy. Look at all these cars. I don't know about you guys in the US, but in Canada, if there's a nice twisty road anywhere, it's like the authorities. They make sure that it's not fun by adding like speed bumps and kind of like these obstacles to slow you down, So it ends up just becoming like you can't properly drive on it if you want to have fun. You have to be like really slow, and I don't know if they do the same thing in the US, but yeah, here they don't want us to have fun. If we want to have fun, go to the track. And I support that, but at the same time, it's kind of expensive to go to the track. It's not like pennies. I think last time I went there, I had to pay like $150 Canadian to use it. So, and it wasn't exactly a great track either. If anybody knows a nice place, just a nice twisty road where it's kind of fun to drive on. Anybody knows one in the Toronto area, or even a little bit outside Toronto, I would love to know. I would love to drive on that and talk about some random topic.